What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. Hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. Now, we're still a few months away from this year's NBA draft, but given the position of the Raptors currently near the bottom of the standings in the NBA, I think it's pretty safe to say that it's probably in the Raptors' best interest to not really try to make a late season playoff push and really try to enter the draft in what I already think is a retooling phase for the Toronto Raptors. So even though the draft is still a little bit away, today we're going to be looking at some potential predictions, some potential players that I think could fall into the spots of the Raptors come the actual NBA draft in July, I think it is. So anyways, let's get right into it. Well, the Raptors at the time of me filming this video currently have a record of 20-32. Not a fantastic season by any means. They find themselves 5th in the Atlantic Division and currently slotted at the 7th best odds in the NBA draft. You look at what they've already done this season in order to clear some cap space, particularly the trade with Norman Powell. They did end up choosing to hold Lowry, but they also get the money freed up at the end of the year when Lowry and Baynes hit free agency, and probably not re-signing either of those guys. But when you look at the Raptors, you got Siakam, VanVleet, and Anunoby. You got Malachi Flynn, still a very good, young, solid core. That's why I call it more of a retooling rather than a rebuilding phase for the Raptors. And then come the offseason, you'll have the ability to spend some money in free agency potentially, if that's the route you want to go, but also add, a real good young core piece to add for the Raptors roster in the upcoming seasons. But in terms of guys, I have 4 guys we're going to break down today. The first guy is Moses Moody. I watched this kid a lot last year. He's a shooting guard, possibly plays a bit of forward as well, coming from Arkansas. He's a 6'6", 205-pound freshman, just finished his freshman year, and not even 19 years old yet. So he's definitely got that age factor and was already, one of the better scorers in the entire SEC. When you look at Moses Moody, coming off a great season, especially for a freshman, great season shooting the basketball, just under 17 points per game, 5.8 rebounds as well. And if you look at his shooting slash line, you're talking 43% from the field, 36% from 3, 81% from the free throw line. He also does a really good job of rebounding basketball, very active defensively. He's a very solid on-ball defender. And I think overall Arkansas's defense was really underrated last year. I spoke about this in some videos that I made before. Because Arkansas plays with such a high-tempo offense, right? They score the ball so much. That also means other teams are also getting more possession. So I think Arkansas, in terms of, points allowed, that stat didn't really show sort of, I think, how underrated Arkansas's defense actually was. But when you look at Moses Moody in particular, you're talking, again, a top scorer in what was already a top scoring offense in college basketball. So he plays in an up-tempo offense. I think he would be perfect for the Toronto Raptors. And the Raptors coming into this draft, I think you either want to draft a big man because that's probably their biggest weakness when you look at some of the other core pieces that the Raptors have. But other than that, you want to draft the best player available. And, unless the Raptors move up probably until the top 4, where they could possibly get Cade Cunningham or Kuminga, which probably won't happen, it's going to have to be some sort of guard or forward. So I think Moses Moody, if the Raptors do end up staying right in that 6 to 8 spot, I think he's a perfect pick for the Toronto Raptors. The next guy we have is a guy that I've watched a ton this year. Obviously, me being a Michigan Wolverines fan, I've spoken so highly about Franz Wagner over the course of really the past 2 seasons. You're talking about a 19-year-old, 6'9", 220-pound small forward, so potentially works a bit better into what the Raptors need. He's from Germany. And his brother Mo, obviously already in the NBA, and again, as I mentioned before, played the past 2 seasons for the Michigan Wolverines. Now, Franz Wagner had a great year last year, 12.5 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 3 assists, over, block, and steal. But the thing about Wagner is his stats don't really show how good and how high of a ceiling he actually has when he reaches the NBA. Not only is his shooting percentage is great, but he's a fantastic defender. And out of almost anybody in the draft, I think he's the most two-way ready player for, actually being able to convert to the NBA. But you look at Franz Wagner, he's got raw potential. So it depends on what the Raptors really want to do. He's definitely an above-average college basketball player. He's definitely going to go probably somewhere between 10 to 15, so the Raptors would have to fall down a bit. But if the Raptors are okay with a bit of a project, this guy potentially has some of the most potential in the entire draft. He's a great wing player. He's a great defender. He can defend the 3-ball, get to the free throw line. Extremely, extremely athletic. If he adds a bit more weight, I think he's definitely an NBA star in the making, in my opinion. So that's definitely a guy that the Raptors Raptors should probably be looking at if they fall down a bit from that number 7 spot in the draft. Next up, we got Corey Kispert, probably the most known guy. If you didn't watch too much college basketball last year, because obviously played in the national championship game, played for Gonzaga in the midst of their undefeated season, which ended in the national championship game. But you're talking about a 6'7", 220-pound small forward who shoots the lights out of the basketball. 18.6 points per game, 5 rebounds, 1.8 assists. But you look at his slash line for his shooting percentages, especially as a guy who's, again, 6'7", keep that in mind. 53% from the field, 44% from 3, and 88% from the free throw line. Watched Gonzaga a lot last year. I didn't think, a lot of their guys were convertible to the NBA. Particularly, looking at a guy like Drew Timme. But Corey Kispert is definitely, in my opinion, convertible to the NBA. Great shooting percentages, has the size. If he adds a bit more strength, I think he's going to be perfect for the Toronto Raptors. He's a hard worker, high-efficiency shooter, very active defensively as well. Won Small Forward of the Year in college basketball. And also what I really like about Corey Kispert, coming out of a system that was primed on ball movement. Gonzaga was all about moving around the basketball, getting everybody touches, finding open looks. I think that's something that the Raptors this year could have definitely used. The Raptors offense is not what it was a couple of years ago, even defensively, not what it was a couple of years ago. So Corey Kispert, again, if you're picking the best player available and you want a guy who's maybe a little less of a project than Franz Wagner is, I think Corey Kispert could definitely be that guy. Looked NBA ready to me. I think he's a very solid two-way player, could be exactly what the Toronto Raptors need in terms of size and offensively as well. And then the fourth guy that we're going to be talking about is Scotty Barnes, a former 5-star small forward ranked number 7 nationally in the high school recruiting class of 2020, according to 24/7 Sports. He's a 6'9", 227-pound, again, forward who last year averaged 10.3 points per game, 4 rebounds, 4.1 assists on 50%, right around there in terms of his field goal percentage. Scotty Barnes is probably the only guy in the list who could potentially be out of the Raptors' range in terms of getting picked ahead of them. And the reason that I left Scotty Barnes for last was because, a lot of Raptors fans, a lot of, mock drafts have him right in that range. But I'm not a huge Scotty Barnes fan. I didn't really like FSU last year. I haven't liked them for the past couple of years. They don't shoot the 3 ball very well. Scotty Barnes also doesn't shoot the 3 ball very well. And they didn't have terrific ball movement. But you're looking at a high potential guy if he does end up panning out. He's got a fantastic jump shot from 2. If he can convert that over to 3, fix his jump shot from 3. But he did not look good shooting the basketball at some points in the season. But again, if the Raptors want somebody who can work a bit more in the paint, shoot some mid-range jump shots, Scotty Barnes is that guy. I just don't know if the Raptors want to actually go in that direction. Again, a high explosive guy, facilitates the basketball really, really well for a big man, can get you some assists. Again, 4.1 assists per game from a guy who's 6'9" and doesn't really turn the ball over. So that's pretty good there as well. And again, the jump shot is sort of from 3, the one thing that's keeping him from, where he is right now in terms of skill to being up there in skill and being able to be a real NBA superstar. But again, we'll have to see, still a lot of time until the NBA draft. So a lot of time, for players to potentially show what they got at a combine, or for teams to figure out where they're sort of at in the upcoming seasons and what they want to do in the future. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. It's still really early, but who do you guys want to see the Toronto Raptors draft if they do end up staying right around 7, maybe a bit higher, lower in the draft? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs for more NBA draft content just like this. We're going to have all the coverage really over the course of the next 3 months, so make sure to stick around, and it'd also be doing me a huge, huge favor. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you again next time.